This is Full Time. I am Max Bredos. You know, when we sat here and had our little conversation last week, Mauricio Pochettino was the head coach of Tottenham Hotspur, and Jose Mourinho was a pundit for beIN Sports, a really good one, by the way, but we knew he would be great at that. 1 week later, Pochettino is out, and Jose Mourinho is back in the Premier League coaching with Tottenham Hotspur. It wasn't a surprise that Pochettino's out. It's a terrible move because Pochettino deserves so much better for what he was able to do for this club. Let's go back in history a little bit. They call it the Big Six now in England, but it wasn't that long. It was a very clearly defined Big Four: Manchester United, Arsenal, Chelsea, and Liverpool. Manchester City came up with all the money and made it a Big Five. And Tottenham Hotspur, rolling up their sleeves, they became the Big Six. And you become part of the Big Six when you qualify for the Champions League, which is something Mauricio Pochettino had done with some regularity. And this was science fiction at Tottenham Hotspur prior to that. They didn't sign players in the offseason. That made probably Pochettino absolutely just very difficult to work with. Probably knocking on the door. Why don't I have new players? It turned off the ownership, it turned off the Daniel Levy, and it probably turned off a lot of the players. You know, I don't want to mention any names, but some Tottenham Hotspur players kind of turned their back and kind of Christian Eriksen, and they didn't make it easy. When you lose the players, you lose the team. So a lot of things played in part. I hated the move because Pochettino deserved better. He has done something to Tottenham Hotspur we haven't seen in decades, and that is success, not trophies. And that is why Jose Mourinho's there, because he wins trophies. Yes, trophies everywhere. He did it at Manchester United, which is saying something as bad as that club looks these days. And he's done it at the Champions League for a variety of clubs as well. He's been in big European competitions. And he'll have a chance to maybe do that this season with Tottenham Hotspur, but I don't see them getting too far like they did a season ago. Has he won over the players? Well, they're off to a winning start. They got up 3 goals against West Ham. West Ham are an absolute mess, but I'm not here to talk about them. Tottenham Hotspur look great. They look great. It's the new coach rub. You see it a lot. But there's something about playing for Mourinho, and that it gets your players' attention. And Pochettino's almost there, but he's not Jose Mourinho. They don't call him a special one for nothing. But we saw it at the game. Very hands-on, talking to the players, patting them on the back, communicating ad nauseum, getting engaged with the fans, and he knows that. And he said all the right things in the press conference about how he severed ties with Chelsea, and now Tottenham Hotspur is his club. So, I'm going to talk about this, maybe some things we haven't really looked at that I found interesting, but also when you look at this team as what exactly do they look to achieve? So we look at winning trophies. Look, they're not going to win the Premier League. I think that's still out of their depths for the foreseeable future with Liverpool and Manchester City, still with that stranglehold at the top. One of those two clubs. They're just both so much better, even though City has struggled this season. They're not going to win the Premier League. They're not going to win the Champions League unless something crazy. But what do they want to win? The FA Cup? Is that what? It's just about trophies? You're not going to win those two. Mauricio Pochettino, although he didn't win trophies, but he qualified you for the Champions League over and over again. And he got you to this close of winning the Champions League. And I just still can't believe it. So I don't know exactly what Tottenham Hotspur wants to really do. They got the victory. They're up to 10th place. And life goes on. But what made this a very peculiar decision is the Premier League's changed. It's somewhat. It's a little more secure if you're a manager. We have talked about so many coaches potentially getting fired, and only one has prior to Mauricio Pochettino, and that was Javi Gracia in a very weird move, fired after a month at Watford. Watford residing at the foot of the table in England, and now this. And what makes it strange is Tottenham Hotspur, not great in the Premier League, but doing well in the Champions League under Pochettino, wouldn't have been my candidate for a coaching change. Just listen, I mean, how often do we talk or you hear about the coaches that people want out? Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It was the number one trend this weekend when Manchester United fell behind to Sheffield United. It was hashtag Ole out. So there's one guy that you figure may not have lasted as much, certainly at a place like Manchester United. Unai Emery, my goodness. He's still there. He's still there. As awful as Arsenal have been and as dysfunctional as he's still there. And yet Pochettino is out. Manuel Pellegrini has lost 5 of 7, and West Ham have sunk to some of the worst that they have played in many years. He's still there. What about Marco Silva at Everton? He's still there. Mauricio Pochettino. Ralph Hasenhüttl from the beginning at Southampton. They allowed 9 goals in a game, and he's still there. Not Pochettino. All right, that's enough of that. Sorry about all the paper flipping, but I'm trying to save the planet. Less paper. Oh, what a game. What a tournament. The Copa Libertadores, the Champions League of South America, and it had bushels of magic. You had Boca and River in the semifinals, and in the final, the perfect final, River Plate, the reigning champs, the best team in South America, versus Flamengo, a long, struggling club in Brazil with the big name. It is in Rio de Janeiro. Estimated to have between 30 and 40 million fans, including at Cristo Redentor. There in Rio, they put a Flamengo jersey. And that was the beginning of an incredible weekend for Flamengo. This is amazing. I was just blown away because it's one of those things that won't get better than this. So the Libertadores, adapting a new tournament, one-off final. It was a bit messy, like it has been the last few years. They had to move it from Chile. They played it in Peru. But one game, River Plate in front. At the beginning of the game, it all seemed cursed. Everything is cursed. But before I get to the game, I just want to say this. Being successful in South America is very difficult. You have to be super calculated to have success as a club because they sell their players earlier and earlier and sooner. There is a demand for South American players from Brazil and Argentina and Uruguay and Colombia. And Argentina, certainly at the top of that list, River Plate last year sold their best player to Atlanta United of Major League Soccer, just to show you the scope of what's happening. So they got to find reinforcements, but they did. Flamengo did have money, and they threw a lot at it, but they had a couple recuperation projects, I guess you could say. Gabriel Barbosa, Gabigol, who I will talk about here in a moment, was at Inter on loan at Flamengo. He wasn't able to score at Inter. In fact, former coach Frank de Boer saying they didn't call him Gabigol, they called him Gabi no goal. That's very harsh, very harsh. So he comes here, and then a lot of guys you'd recognize. Felipe Luis of Atletico Madrid fame. Diego, who's got to be 34, 35, as the number 10. Rafinha, who was at Bayern Munich. They brought in a Pablo Mari, Rodrigo Caio, some good younger players, and they made a super team. And then they got a great coach in Jorge Jesus, who, as Portuguese, took a big risk. A lot of risks at everything Flamengo did, but it worked. And here they are in the final. And Gabigol, walking out, does the unthinkable, the unimaginable. He touches the Libertadores trophy before he won it. It was over. It was over right there. Game, set, match. But alas, River Plate, by the way, took a 1-0 lead, and they went on through. And then it happened. Gabigol scores the equalizer late in the game, right around the 90th minute, scores the game winner in extra time. And Flamengo lift the trophy for the first time since 1981. Then shortly thereafter, they would win the Brazilian League because of Palmeiras lost to Grêmio. So they won it. So they won 2 trophies in a weekend. And then I thought about superstition. Superstition in sports. It is crazy. It's ruined baseball. Always superstition. Don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. Take your superstition and stick it in a sock and bury it in your backyard, folks. Because that's all it is. Stition. Gabigol went after it. He scored the 2 goals. You see? Don't get caught up in that mumbo jumbo. It's just ghosts, myth, gobbledygook. So here we are. And by the way, the images of Flamengo, we told you about the fan bases at their parade in Rio. This is insane. But it was something to behold. And what an incredible success story. And now we perhaps see them we will see them in the Club World Cup. And everyone's talking about Flamengo Liverpool final. But Flamengo enjoying the moment, and what a great turn. You know, the great clubs in South America, Flamengo and River Plate are two of the handfuls. You put Santos of Brazil, Boca Juniors, obviously. I'd put Independiente because hasn't won more Copa Libertadores than they have. Maybe Peñarol of Uruguay, and there they are. And they're at the top of the list. All right, a couple quick things I want to address. Well, I don't want to address VAR, but it came up again. Another monumental decision against Raheem Sterling. Raheem Sterling is becoming the poster boy of VAR shortcomings. But anyway, goal disallowed by this minuscule line. But I'm not going to talk about it. I don't want to talk about this anymore. I've had it. I'm not going to ruin another full time. It's not going to do any good anyway. So let's go to something else that caught my attention. And the Chicago Fire of Major League Soccer are doing a rebrand. They've done a lot of good things. They left Bridgeview, and they are now going to play at Soldier Field in downtown Chicago. They got a new owner. The original fans from the beginning are getting free season tickets. And they also got this new logo and the new emblem. And they're changing it from the Chicago Fire because that shares the name of a hit TV show, Chicago Fire. So if you type in for a trend, the TV show is not going to come. The club's now forgotten. So now it's Chicago Fire Football Club, Chicago Fire FC. And that and the combination of the logos got people all up in steam. I'm not crazy about the logo, but it's theirs. It's different. Embrace it. So just the pushback they've gotten, I thought was completely out of bounds. Let them have their moment. They're doing things right. They are digging themselves out of a big hole. And I would predict that the Chicago Fire are going to make a big push here for an important signing to be part of that rebrand. Lay off. Everyone just giving them so much stick. This is Full Time. I appreciate your support. Please subscribe if you're just watching us going through YouTube. I am here to serve you, to give you the important soccer stories. I don't shortchange you. Max Bredos is my address there. And leave a comment. I'll be happy to answer some of your questions here. Thank you for all you do. And I just want to show you this see-through shirt. Holy moly. Good night. Good morning.